So I think it's become pretty obvious at this point that wokeness, anti-racism, DEI, feminism, these are part of an ideology that doesn't seek to actually solve anything. They just exist to, well, keep existing, to perpetuate themselves. It's just become an industry at this point filled with people who need to keep finding oppression somewhere and then lecture you about it. And they're guaranteed to find something, because don't you know they can read your mind and decipher all of your microaggressions? You know, those things that nobody would even notice if there wasn't a commissar over everybody's shoulder to denounce them. But anyway, here's a video of some cult members trying to justify their claims that there is a gender pay gap in Australia. And you might notice they have nothing to support their claims other than their own self-righteousness.
So do you take into account the fact that on average a male full-time employee works longer hours than a female full-time employee?
Not directly, no.
You don't?
But we annualise the part-time hours and those that have worked full-time but for part of the year. So that way, because at the moment, what I can tell you is women work part-time at 3 times the rate of men. So by annualising it, we are looking at a more realistic...
So you base it on annual salary?
Yeah.
What about if you did...
So that means she didn't like the data, so she's not using it.
Yeah.
What about if you did it on an hourly rate? What would be the gender hourly pay gap?
Well, we don't have that data, Senator.
You don't have that data?
No, because we ask for annualised salaries from our employers when they report their data in.
And we know why she does that, right? Because it's misleading, right? It's misleading when she leaves out important context like, how many hours is everybody actually working?
Okay, so if a woman was working fewer hours but earning the same rate per hour as a man doing the same job, would that show up as a gender pay gap?
No.
But, well, then in that case you are looking at hourly rates.
Janine Bridove, Research and Analytics Executive Manager. So we do not collect the real hours that.
Do you see how quickly it all falls apart under just the slightest bit of real interrogation? And that's because it has been, and I think this is changing, it has been simply too politically incorrect to even ask these questions.
Janine Bridove, Research and Analytics Executive Manager. So we do not collect the real hours that an employee might have worked. So what we do collect is the hours that are specified in a contract, and that is provided by organisations to us. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but I mean, if you do you annualise it on the assumption that men and women are working the same number of hours, or is it actual earnings?
Well, that was awkward.
It's actual earnings, and we are unable to. We don't have the data to distinguish or to then adjust for hours, because we cannot collect the real hours that employees are worked.
Well, maybe she'd have that data if she, worked a little more.
It's not possible to tell whether any or some of the gender pay gap is just simply attributable to a different number of hours worked. Is that right?
It depends on whether we're looking at hours that are in contract, or whether we're looking at hours that employees worked as, overtime.
Why is it you don't look at hours worked?
We know why it is. We know why they don't look at that. Because they know it won't benefit them. It won't make it any easier to sell the lie.
Don't collect it, but the ABS does. It's available.
The ABS does a survey, yes.
Every 2 years.
Yes.
But again, as I say, we collect census data, that is survey data. And the other thing I would say at this stage, Senator, is just because somebody might be sitting at their desk for 12 hours a day doesn't mean you're getting 12 hours of productivity out of them, and doesn't mean that they're working in essence any harder than someone that may sit at their desk for 8 hours.
So somebody who works more hours might not actually be working harder than somebody who works less hours. So therefore, gender pay gap. And I'm going to guess she doesn't have any data on that either. And it really is amazing how this myth just keeps on. It's like a zombie myth. It's been known for years that when you adjust for people's preferences going into the workforce, and when you adjust for hours worked, the pay gap disappears, doesn't exist anymore. In fact, in Australia, it's actually illegal to pay men and women differently for work of equal value. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. Please subscribe, like, and share. Sharing really helps me out. I thank you for that. I will see you next time.